2012 with the aim to ease pet parenting hours and bring knowledge, nutrition, and insight to the larger community under a single roof. So, the Dogspot.in has grown into a largest pet community site in the Asia Pacific region and has registered an organic growth year on year. And in the year 2016, they have received funding from Ratan Tata, among other people who have funded this particular venture. And Dogspot Meals was launched later on with an aim to provide human grade meals to pets and also full of nutrition and palatability for dogs of all age, size, and breed. Dogspot Meals have been founded to address the ever growing need of the dog parent community for fresh, nutritious, and healthy food. Since its inception, Dogspot Meals have grown very rapidly and they are continuing to move forward with their goal of raising healthy and happy dogs. So, with this brief introduction, now I would request Sri Rana Atheya to share his experience and provide guidance to the startups, budding startups with Sirkat R-ABI. Sir, the stage is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Murthy and Mr. Bharimala. It's a pleasure to be here, and thank you to Sashwati also to invite me and give me this opportunity. It is actually one is that thank you very much for inviting me, and the other gratitude is about setting up this kind of a thing. When I started up and I wanted to start my business, there was nothing as structural as this. I mean, there was nobody for us to reach out and talk any doubts, or if we had any doubts, questions, and how to do. So every day used to be a new day, and we used to discover it on our own. We used to make a lot of mistakes and then figure it out, and used to tell ourselves that, okay, now I know how it is done. And then we used to pick up another problem and solve it ourselves. And very small things like setting up the company, opening up the accounts, etc. A startup was not really a culture. So I'll take you through my journey, and I think you some brand new entrepreneurs can learn from what I went through and how I tackled the problems. It's been a while for me. I have not been able to put a very big presentation just because I was busy in something else. Got freed very late yesterday night, but I'll try to be more articulated about the journey and everything. But in case anybody has got any questions in between, please feel free to ask. Happy to make it more interactive session than just a monologue. So that's what I wanted to share in the beginning. So I'll share the presentation now. Can you all see the presentation?
Yes, sir. Yes, please.
Cool. So this is the topic which was given to me: translation of my innovation into successful business enterprise. And I would actually take a step back and say that it was more of my hobby, which actually became my business. So a lot of one is that I did some innovation, and then but a step back before the innovation was the hobby. That I used to keep pets, and I learned a lot about them. And when I used to talk to some other pet owners, I used to think that I can help them in some way, and that is how the whole journey started. So I started my on in 2007. It was more of a content website when I started. I used to work, and this was more of a moonlighting project, which I did just out of hobby. And I was working for a company called IBO at that point in time. Lot of employees, and the CEO there, they came from Google, and we used to put about 20% thing for any hobby project. So I used to work on various different ideas, or used to learn a lot of things on my own. But then I understood from my friends and who were in my office, they used to ask me a lot of questions about pet keeping. And one day they started saying that, why don't you start writing some blogs? So I thought that I'll open And then another colleague said, why Blogspot? Let's we were writing content and putting it all together. But at the same time, I was always very, very keen to understand that, how it will grow and how we can, get more traffic on the website and will etc. Then we did e-commerce in 2011. In 2015, we launched private label product um, catalog. For started doing, and we are looking forward to build the dog food business really, really big. And from content to dog food business, there have been two, three businesses. So basically, traffic comes and we earn that business. And how to talk about. In 2007, people used to start a website and customers are and why would people come and start using my website? So I picked up a few channels where we could have marketed it, but one of the channels was events. So I went to an event and said to people, hey, you know what, I am clicking some photos and you can see some these photos on my website if you come after 2 days on my website. I just wrote it by my hand on a piece of paper and gave him the name of the website. And then when I was looking at the data after a few days, I saw that there was a small blip. And then I did it again with more, in a more organized way. Got invested about 200 rupees, got some visiting cards printed, and distributed it in a dog show. Click photos, distributed it, and then I saw another big blip. And then what I did is, then these dog shows used to happen on the Sundays. So while I was working, I used to travel on Sunday to a dog show. We'll click the photos on the traffic again, and I started doing this. So and click photos. So I used to click about 2,000 photos in a day, and used to post about 300, 500 sometimes, depending on the quality and of the photos. So it was like a very, very tedious work for I think 3 years. And we were quantity as well as qualitative data was also there. So we were like pretty much looking at the data again and again and trying to understand the customer is in the website. My salary was there, so I used to put a part of my salary, server cost and some tech cost, started to get out of the advertising this thing. So this is how the content business got built in 2011. If you see, when we started looking at e-commerce, and why we started looking at e-commerce is that we realized that Facebook is going to become very, very big, and every phone is going to have a camera. So the photograph thing would not work so well. And when we were looking at our data also, that people were coming and they were looking for products. In our forum, people used to ask each other that from where to buy this particular product, which one is better and which one is not good. Then there were sometimes we interacted with our customers and they said that to get, let's say if I want to buy 5-6 different types of products for my pets, they will have to go to many different pet shops to get to find that product. So it was very, very fragmented, very unorganized. Discoverability was very, very poor. So all those things made us to launch e-commerce business, and I had no experience of e-commerce business. And I thought that, like just a digital product, I will just put up a section on the website and it will start working. And then we realized when we started it that it is actually running 4 or 5 different companies. So you run a marketing company, you run a warehousing company, logistics company, technology company. Now technology and warehousing you can outsource, but in those days there was no way you can outsource, and or even the CMS were not very, very well built. So we did the whole technology thing in house, and then customer care is again a very, very big part. And then the revenue starts clicking in. There's a whole set of different types of financial things which you need, and you need then funding to build that business. Because what happens in an e-commerce business is the margins are very, very low, and we didn't and it looks very nice on the Excel, when and it is very easy to build that Excel and make that Excel when you do not know. But once the reality start hitting you, then you realize, oh, there is a cost. Because the business is growing, you need to invest in the future, you need to invest in technology, you need more space to put products, you need better logistics, you need more marketing. And for to run such a business, you need some kind of a funding. And now the business do not have too much profit, so only funding which is left is the VC funding. So we started realizing it that now that this business is running and it is not going to give so much profit. So some people, and it was the time like 2011 when the e-commerce, vertical e-commerce getting funded. So we got some calls from a few investors. They contacted us, and we raised a very little amount. And then their friends, these were like seed angel funds, not even funds, individuals like HNIs who invested little amount. We built, and with that amount we were able to increase the business. Their friends got to know, they contacted us. Somebody from outside India, they invested even more bigger money. And then we were big enough for some large angel investors to look at us. And then that is how the funding thing started. So if you ask me that, did we build the business to get VC funding? No, we did not. We were building a business basis on the customer insights, and we were trying to create some kind of a value because we had a purpose to serve. And that is how we attracted some of the VCs. And then after that, once we were on a treadmill of VC money, there was no other way but to keep raising funds. So we raised multiple rounds of funding from different entrepreneurs. We're very, very lucky to have Mr. Tata invest in our company, and I'll get into details. I have a slide on funding as well. Then the problem which we were facing with this business is that the industry, very, very small of this business. So pet industry currently it is pegged at around $600 million. But in those days it was said about $200 million. So when I used to go for funding this business, every investor used to tell me that it's a small industry, so we cannot invest. Everybody wants to look at a very, very large picture. They want to look at every company saying that we have will it become a $1 billion valuation company or not, whether it will become a unicorn or not. And given the fact that the industry size is small, there is no way we can prove that this will become a $1 billion company. So so we were not able to attract very large investors. We were able to attract mainly HNIs, people who care for the fundamentally right run business. But to build a retail e-commerce business, you need to burn a lot of money, and it was a very high risk thing. Wherein we went under. Um, at one point in time, there was a deal going on, and we were investing 2 crore, 3 crore rupees, and we had to pay to people. And then at that point in time, we were able to raise another round of funding to build the business further. But I realized the problem was that for investors, this is one of the 1,000 businesses they are investing. For us, it was the only business, and we wanted to really do this only. So we had, I personally had no other thoughts but to run this business. So what happened is I started looking at that, what are different types of businesses where we can make more money. So what happened is that if you see, after e-commerce, we started doing private labels so that we can build something which is, sorry, which can survive on its own, which does not need, which will not need, external money always and always, but it can. So when we do the private label business, what happens is that your margins increases, your contribution margin, which is after paying all the variable costs, that comes to around, that is called as contribution margin number 3. So after paying all the cost, you make some money, which made us, to say that okay, now we are in a business which is not going to die just because there is no VC money. So that is why we started getting into the private business. And then, the business became a little more strong. And then we realized that in the whole 400 products, what is the best category is the dog food category, because it is habit forming. It is, the entry barrier is very high. And at the same time, it is the largest category. So it's a 70% of the total market is the pet food market. And even globally, it is very big. So about $70 billion of dog food gets sold globally. And it's a product which can be exported from India also, because, India has got lot of ingredients for pets and humans also, which we get from, from our herbal side, which are very good. And there were some researches which I did, wherein it was proved that even in US, people are looking for turmeric for pets, and the searches of that kind of keywords is increasing in the US, Canada, Australia, everywhere. So we thought that if we build a good product, then we will be able to survive for longer. We will have even more profits, and it can become a large company. And that is how we transformed from being a content website to an e-commerce business to become a product business. And currently, we do some e-commerce and content business as well, but the main focus is on the product business. Now, in the last slide, we talked about the funding, and it was by the VC. But the problem is that, what I have realized over a period of time, that there is too much talking going about the VC funding in the market, wherein, it has been talked about so much that many other types of funding are completely ignored because they are not glorious. That does not give you, um, in your name in the newspaper or the front page of Times of India, etc. But if you look at fundamentally right businesses, they are funded by the customers. Maybe in the beginning you can start looking at the VC, or if it is a product business, then first investor has to be the customer in the business. When you want to scale and take some incumbent competitors in the space head on, then only you need very big funding. But to build a product business, all you need to do is put the product right. And then do, I think, in MBA, we talk about 4 P's of marketing, and at that point in time it looks very, very easy. But as soon as we get into the product business, then product pricing, promotion, placement, all these things makes sense. The whole organization has to be very, very sales focused. And at the same time, because it is direct to consumer brand building exercise, and we are only doing direct to consumer currently, so we have to be obsessive about servicing and customer care. And that is how the new brands are getting built nowadays, which is known as direct to consumer. So this product business which we are running is a pure play direct to consumer business. And then we are also doing some bit of marketing and branding, because as I said earlier, we are the largest traffic owner in this space. So we sit on a lot of data of the customers as well as pet owners. So it is very, very easy for us to do marketing and branding. So this is our other business which we do. So now we have got three of these: content, e-commerce, and product business. Okay, so as I touched upon funding, uh, when we start up, right, I have seen this question coming up from a lot of brand new entrepreneurs or people who are thinking to be an entrepreneur, is that they just get stuck on funding. I mean, there is too much of the talking going on the funding. But what actually is important is hard work, self discipline, sincerity, and doing some sensible execution. Now, people think that it is uh, if I will get money, then this will happen. If I will get money, then I can do execution better. If you will get money, let me tell you very, very clearly, you will start burning the money. That means you will make more mistakes. So I did most of the business building without any external funding, and it was full of constraints, that we cannot do this, we cannot do that. But if there is no replacement of hard work, because you have to do the same thing again and again and again, and it is very, very tedious, it is very boring, that I traveled for 3 years every Sunday, going, clicking photographs, bringing it back, editing them, putting it up, writing content, every time doing that. And then only the funding thing arrived. And when you see stories outside about funding, they are one in 1,000 company which gets funded. Many get shut down, or even if the story looks very, very interesting and very, very impressive, but at the same time people fail to find out that how long did the entrepreneur took to get these funds. So and when the articles are written, it is said that the idea get funded. Yes, the idea get funded, but behind that, either the entrepreneur is highly, highly experienced, or the hard work, self-discipline, sincerity, and some sensible execution has already been done. When I talk about self-discipline, I met some new startups in recent times, and I realized that they do not even have an Excel in place, that how much money they are spending and how much they are earning, and there is no P&L, as but just because nobody is asking. So no, and they are too busy with the operational things, they're too busy with some kind of an execution, and they're not looking at daily numbers, they're not looking at their expenses. So that is self-discipline. Sincerity, just give me a second, I'll open another light. To be very, very sincere and honest about your own business. It is your own baby. Without that, it does not work. And when I say you have to do, you'll hear a lot of people talking about execution, execution, execution. But what I, try to do is some sensible execution. I mean, execution can also be that, you have applied for a company or some trademark, and you're just waiting, and you're not even doing some kind of a minimal viable POC kind of a thing, and just because other things are keeping you so busy, you're not actually looking at the sensible side of it, that what will give you money and what will build the business, right? So I'm not saying that the other things are not important. Just because, when we start, we have got so many constraints, we should use these constraints as a positive thing, and try to do more sensible thinking and more sensible execution, instead of just doing whatever comes in the head. So a little bit of planning, little bit of understanding would help to do execution. Now, this, why I'm talking about funding again and again, is that I have seen that a lot of startups do not really start just because they have not figured out funding. The biggest constraint in the life is that if we will get money, then we will uh, be able to start a business. But I am an example in front of you, wherein we started in 2007. I started in 2007, left my job in 2009, and we started getting funded in, I think, late in 2012. 12 was the first time when we received some funds. And it was not that I was going and pitching. The starting was that investors themselves identified us, and then they started contacting us and started investing in our business to start with. And later on, I went and I did a lot of pitches, and we raised funds from some well-known entrepreneurs and investors in the country. But please be very, very mindful about a couple of things when you go out for funding. Number one thing is that you need to understand that what type of funding does your business needs. So you need to probably put up a thought process on an Excel, or talk to a lot of find out that, do you really need a venture fund? Do you really want to dilute your company's equity and raise some venture capital? Is your idea or the company or the business is even fit for venture capital? Right? There are businesses which are unfit for venture capital because the valuations cannot be very, very high. Venture capital wants to invest in businesses where the markup and the valuation of the company is multiples, like 30x, 50x. That is what they talk about. Many times people do not know the type of money they require and why this business requires some money, and it is maybe just the working capital issue. That means you have to pay now, you will get the money later, right? So the sales cycles are very different, and then they start looking for venture capital money. So venture capital is not going to fund you for working capitals, right? So when venture capital will fund you to take your competition head on, to grow faster. If you will say that, okay, if you will give me 1 lakh rupees, I will create a business of 1 crore rupees. That is something what a venture capital would like to listen. But if you will say that I will use that money for my working capital issues, then it is not going to be as exciting for a venture capital. While the same thing is more exciting for a bank to give you a loan. So if you are sure that your business is going to give back that money, so it's better to go to a bank and raise some funds. So what we do currently in a product business, where I need to invest today to manufacture and do some guarantee to my contract manufacturing partner, then what I will do is that I'll go to a bank and say that, hey, this is what is my balance sheet, and we can pay you back in such and such time. So I'll get about 3 months, 6 months loan, and bring it on a working capital cycle. So that is the kind of, tomorrow if I want, and I want to say that I want to take incumbents head on, I want to invest about 10 crore, 20 crore rupees in marketing. At that time, I will have to go to a venture capital and look at the money for scaling the business up. So that is more like a rocket fuel for your business. Then we in some of the businesses, there are some grants, some schemes which we do not look at many times, just because there is not too many. So if I want to set up a business where I have to put an industry or a factory together, then I will start looking at grants. One funding which people generally do not completely ignore is the customer based funding, which is the best funding if you can get your customers to fund your business, right? So that is the best funding. And we are, after doing 3-4 different types of businesses in the same domain, what I'm realizing is the customer based funding is the best funding, even if you grow slow. But the ancillary benefits to your business are huge. I mean, the brand building, the habit forming, the repeat buying behavior, all those things increase a lot. And the focus of the company and the business is completely on the fundamentals of business, right? P&L should be strong, customers should be serviced very, very well. So all those things, the product, all those 4 P's of marketing, everything get fine tuned when we take customer funding into play. Um, So, one of I would like to talk a little bit about how we raise funds, and how Mr. Tata fund. One of the fundamentals when we started raising funds, I told you that I shared with you guys that we were lucky to attract the investors to start with. But one of the things what I have learned while fundraising is that when you go out to raise funds for your idea, it is how strongly you talk about your business. The storytelling is most important. You need to understand that what's going on in the market, why you are asking for the funds, and the story has to be very, very strong. Because the life which you have had without the funds versus the life which you will have with the funds are going to be very, very different. So you need to talk to the investors and tell about basically the story that you want to build versus that what you have been working upon. So number one thing to fundraise, I think, is to create that story, maybe with your own, with your business, or in your mind, or you write it up, and run it through various people before you start approaching the investors, and do a lot of net practice about the story. And the story has to be correct. That means you are actually saying that I'm going to build a large business, right? uh, Even if you go to seed funding people, or angel investors, or HNIs, or individuals, you will have to have a very, very strong story, right? And it is more of a function of sales versus running a business or operational function, or some people think it's a financial function. According to me, it's a sales function. It's an art to raise funds. So that is one. The second thing which I have learned is that try not to get into cold calling or cold emailing, right? Try to build a network, and you need to approach these VCs through somebody. I mean, there has to be a very, very warm handshake. So at least you will get a reward from them. Even if you will not get money in the first few times, you will at least learn that what went wrong, right? Why are they not investing, right? And for that, networking is very, very important. You need to what we say in the entrepreneurial circle is that we help all entrepreneurs around. All fellow entrepreneurs will help, give you a helping hand, because they understand what you are up to and what you are doing. Not everybody understands. So be very helpful to your fellow entrepreneurs. And maybe even if they are competitions or anything, or anybody, we generally talk to everybody, and try to keep building that network. And do not, I have seen that many times people have that network maybe through LinkedIn, or maybe personal network through their colleagues, ex-colleagues, through their MBA colleagues, or some friends, family, but they hesitate to ask for a help. I would say that please do not hesitate to ask for introduction, help. And I do get emails sometimes on LinkedIn to ask, when a lot of people ask me to connect to Mr. Tata. I do reply to them, even if I'm not able to connect or not able to share the contact details. but sometimes I get to know people just like that. So, and maybe tomorrow if I meet some investor and I remember that business and that investor is looking to invest in any similar business, so I will not mind connecting with them. So I think number one thing is that the storyline should be very, very strong. Number two is that your networking should be very strong. Try to get a very strong introduction. Uh, and then, in an early stage business, I'm just assuming that you guys would be very early stage. Uh, you should not, get into a discussions of valuation so much. There is something called um, what we do is that valuation can be parked. You can say that whenever the next funding happens, you will get some kind of a discount on that funding. So that is another way of raising funds and not get into a discussion of valuations, etc. You can say that whatever next funding happens in that funding, let's say if the business is valued at $10 million, you will get a 50% discount on that, right? So those are some of the ways uh, to raise funds. I have raised funds, right? Like in the beginning, people came and they asked me that they want to invest, so that was one way. The second time, I raised was a proper pitching and round. Then I have also raised while the business was growing very, very fast. We were doing very, very well. We were at around, I think, crore and a half rupees of revenue per month and growing about 20% month on month. Uh, and then, I raised funds at the time when we were down about 2-3 crore rupees. And, I had to go to investors and keep pitching. I would have pitched to about 50 to 100 investors in over, I think 2 to 3 months. I used to do 2-3 calls almost every day. And then also the funding happened. Um, and we never and at that time Mr. Tata invested, and after that we have done two more rounds of funding, and now we do only internal rounds, loans, or the loans, right? We might do it all over again when we start getting out in the market and doing marketing of the product. We're not yet ready for that. One thing, I would like to share, this is a little out of the context of the business, but this is more importantly from the philosophy of the business point of view. So I started this business as a hobby, and the transformation of an innovative idea into a business and taking a step back towards the hobby. So please, if you guys, anyone of you want to start a business just because it is your hobby, just keep these thoughts in mind. So hobby is for fun. It is de-stressing knowledge. You gain some knowledge. You make some friends. Passion, then passion is the next step forward, right? It's a calling. It is very persistent. It gives a lot of energy, commitment. People can get into stress with passion, unlike hobby, and it is very personal thing, right? And then last but not the least is the business, and business wants a lot more. So self-discipline, resilience, rigor, competitiveness. You need to do sales, people management, money management, marketing, distress, freedom, and a lot of other things which come into business. So be very, very mindful that when you are moving from a hobby to a passion to a business, you need to understand this business would be at least many, many times harder than just pursuing a hobby or pursuing a passion. If you're passionate about something and that becomes your business, then probably you will be able to live through the very, very hard times. Also because you want to do what you are doing and you do not want to change that business. But at the same time, one of my friends was running a job portal website, and I love his quote. He was giving a lecture like this, and somebody asked him that if you would have known that it is so hard, would you have done this? So his answer was no, and even my answer is no. If I would have known that running a business is so bloody hard, I would not have done that. Now that I have done that, the bigger problem is that I cannot do anything else, because it gives a different type of um, freedom, or you can say when we create value for people, then it gives a very different type of a pleasure. So while I am saying that it is very, very hard, but at the same time I'm saying that it is very, very um, uh, very very relief giving, or I would say that it is worth doing it, right? So people who are wanting to get into business and they're afraid, then just keep in mind that you'll have to have self discipline, resilience, lot of hard work, but the results, when you start getting not from only from the money point of view, but also from the value creation point of view, you would probably love it. So happy to take questions if there are any questions.
Yes. Anybody is having questions?
House is open for discussion, and a lot of participants are there. I think we will ask a lot of questions to Rana Saab. Just start. Questions? Arvind ji, Kausal ji. Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We saw sir's presentation, and basically a lot of queries or thoughts that we had in mind have already been cleared.
Kausal ji, first of all, you introduce yourself.
Ji. Right. Good afternoon. I am Kaushal Dongre from Navi Mumbai. I am a startup entrepreneur focused on establishing my brand in Jaggery. And to be specific, I don't have any questions as such, but a lot of things that I got clarified. So I just want to really thank him from the bottom of my heart. Heartfelt gratitude for the presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Arvind Garge. Our startups are very shy in asking question actually, or any suggestion. Irfan Ali.
Sir, only one thing, Kaushal Dongre here. If you can just have the last slide of sir, so we can have the contact details or email address or something if we, have to. Yes, thank you so much.
Sir, my question is that, Rana Sahab,
Sir,
my question is that how you cultivate this idea in your brain?
sir, और कुछ आता नहीं था.
Arey, wow, very good question. Very
So,
good.
sir, this is one question which I kind of fail to answer every time, because I always wanted to do something related with pets right from my childhood. And when I was in class 12th, I told my dad I want to become a veterinarian. And my daddy was a professor in veterinary sciences in Pantnagar University.
Oh.
So he told me all the bad things about becoming a veterinarian. So he said, you will go to a social gathering, people will call you Ghoda doctor. And so then he asked me, why do you want to become a veterinarian? So I told him that because I like dogs and I love dogs and I want to, research more about them. And then he said that you become an IAS and keep dogs, you will be more respected than becoming become an engineer and do it. So, and all those things, came into this thing. And then, I had maths and bio both. So while I sat for some medical exams and veterinary exams, but I got through for BTech and did not wanted to waste too much time. So I did BTech and then did my MBA. And then after that, I tried looking for some companies where I can find some job in a pet related company. There was nothing. So I thought that why not
But
why not start on my own?
bright idea and general thinking in this line is difficult also some other also. But I
Right.
from your idea and how you are nurture your idea, really it is a great. It is not a conventional things. It is unconventional things in my language.
Right.
Generally how, but one thing I will ask you, here some disease and pest infection happened because your breeds, other things are very much costly things. But you have backup for all these type of rescue to the animals.
Yeah. So we work with a lot of rescue organizations. Support them by providing feed. Sometimes, we donate sweaters and blankets, etc. on personal level as well as at the company level. We have different pricing of the products for, adoption centers and shelters, etc.
Any statistics you have that which animal is more pet in India as well as in other country?
Globally, if you see the numbers, 50% is dog and 50% is cat. Mostly in most cities, is most countries. If we look at the largest pet industry is US, which is about $70 billion in revenues. Globally, the pet industry is about $110 billion, and out of it, $70 billion is only US. So all large economies have 50% cats and 50% dogs, but India is more dogs than cats. So I think India would be about 90% dogs versus cats. The small animal is very, very low. Very.
Okay.
Yeah, because of the social taboos and religious taboos, I think cats are less and dogs are more.
What is your export market? You are doing export?
No, we are not yet doing export. We feel that in 2024-25 we'll start doing the exports also of this dog food. But currently we are just focused on India. We have not even launched it in retail yet. So how we are doing it is we are doing some kind of an influencer marketing, wherein we call the experts in this domain. Because, sir, the problem with our domain is that the customer and the consumer are different.
Yes.
The consumer never speaks, and what consumer is thinking and what consumer is liking is perception, right? And that perception is completely built on what your fellow expert or some advisor is telling you. Maybe a veterinarian will tell, or some friend in the office, or your childhood friend who has kept dogs, that those people will influence you to an extent. Sometimes I come home and my wife will say that this dog of ours, his mood is not good. And that's the perception. So maybe her mood is not good. So that's what is reflecting. So, sir, it's a difficult area from the insight point of view. So people who have got the insight of the pet versus, the owner, and the relationship between owner and the pet, which is customer-consumer relationship, when we talk management. So to understand that, it is difficult. So people can get into retail and build a business without having just the money is the only entry barrier. But when we talk about dog food and things which are very, very close to dog's life, then which are consumables, right? Then it's a very different type of a game, because you need to understand that relationship of the consumer and customer to build that business. Same as the paint business. Sorry.
Apart from this feed business, you have any idea regarding to directly pet production and selling to the customer, this type of any plan in future?
No, sir. Pets, we do not want to get into the pets buy and sell, or getting it. So we are more ancillary, and we feel. Sir, dog food business is altogether about 70% of the total market. So about $80 billion market globally. So it's a large business. If we are able to build some 0.0 to 5 market, then we're good.
Any other person?
Sir,
Dr. Desmukh?
Arvind here.
Yes.
Yeah. Arvind ji?
Yes, am I audible?
Yes,
Yes.
yes, you are.
Yes, sir. Rana sir, good afternoon and thank you very much for giving us this thing, very inspirational story telling us. So this is Arvind Gadge from Navi Mumbai, and we are developing a water maker for fishing trawlers. That means as per this thing, Indian fishing trawlers, and we are developing this as per our Indian conditions. So we are into that. Just Sircot has given us an opportunity, and thus we are working on it. And as today's your session, it was very, because I got more clarity that at what time we have to get the funds, at what time we have to get the VCs and all. So we have to identify that particular time. So it was a very insightful. So thank you very much, and we'll.
Yes, sure.
Hello, sir.
Sir.
Hello. This is Ravi Shankar from Bangalore, sir.
Hi, Ravi Shankar.
So we are working on natural cleaning products like fabric wash, hand wash, and all. By your talk, it's like inspiration so that we can work on pet care, like pet shampoo and pet cleaning products. So how is the market, sir, for that, for naturally origin pet care products, sir?
See, Indian market, if you dissect $600 million, product market, and 70% will go to the food, rest is divided into many different categories.
Okay.
So, and if you compare it with the human, market, like, house cleaning market, etc., which is the superset of this market, right? So, and I'm assuming that you're a startup and you may not have too many resources. I would say that, just focus on the larger picture first. Crack it nicely and then get into the pet side. You'll have to look at direct to consumer marketing, like how to sell on Amazon, and if you are able to crack that, then you can also start looking at cross-border e-commerce, which is that, like, you can start selling in US sitting here without having any team there. But at the same time, if you enter the US market and you want to do some specific product for pets, then it is very, very large market.
Okay, sir. Okay. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Dr. Vignesh sir?
Yes, sir.
You just some interaction?
Ashok sir, can I have an afterthought question? Can I ask Rana?
Yes.
Sure.
Rana sir, this is Kaushal Dongre from Navi Mumbai. So we're focused on establishing our brand in Jaggery. And just to give a brief note, and then I'll just ask the question. So we are the first in the country to introduce Jaggery in this small cubes form.
Okay.
So the category of these Jaggery cubes that have come up, we are basically the innovators of the same. Now, what has happened is in the last 2-3 years, a lot of competitors have come in because it was easy to copy them. But we have the first mover advantage, and quality is something that we are focused on. We have a good platform as of now. So last year when we did 1.7 crores, this year we did around 3.5 crores. We're growing around, last year we grew by 100%. Now this year around 50% is what we're looking at. And going forward, once we have the modern trade and all, we can grow at a better pace. I just want to know, now that the competitors are coming in, it is important to actually, differentiate ourselves from the market and develop a brand from the commodity, which is again happening. It's becoming a commodity market again, this cubes thing. So
See, what is happening in the market currently with the post-COVID thing and everything, one is the sales and one is the channel of the sales you are getting it from, right? So that is becoming more important. What is the channel of the sales? So as soon as you say that we are one of the largest Jaggery selling brand or company on direct to consumer side, right? Then the whole thing changes. Then it is easier to raise funds, or it is easier to compete. Because I'll tell you why it is easier to compete, because not everybody can master direct to consumer sales. Right? Even if you look at mustard oil, I was talking to a mustard oil company a few days back, and it is a commodity. And to my surprise, there were so many different of mustard oils they were getting into so that they can capture the new age market, right? And they were wanting to do direct to consumer marketing so that they can learn from the consumer directly instead of, because it's a traditional company. Traditional company mein your distributor and your retailer is your customer. Right. So whatever he says, you need to believe it, right? And then you will hire some company like R-ABI who will go and do some research and bring it back to you. And in last 5-10 years, those companies are not, so active, right? So because of direct to consumer. So if you will, start looking at direct to consumer side of it, then you will be able to build some kind of barriers, right? If the consumers, if you are seeing that competition is coming, then you need to grow the sales faster than anybody else. Right. See, building the brand will take its own time.
Absolutely.
I have not seen any brand building before, 4 or 5 years. Like 5 years is minimum is what I have seen. Right? Good brand, right?
Absolutely.
So even if you pour a lot of money, it will take its own sweet time to build.
Right.
So try to, increase the sales and try to increase sales from online. I'm just assuming that maybe online is still not that big. Yeah.
So my question was, so if I'm at 3.25 crores now, and if I happen to be, look for funding to actually scale up my operations quickly, what is the valuation, or is there any base for valuation?
Yeah. So that's what I was saying, Kaushal, that see, it is the type of revenue you are getting. If you are getting from the traditional channel, right, which is the distributor and the retailer, offline, modern trade, right, then, it is, if you're, let's say if your 90% of the revenue is coming from traditional ways of selling, then the VC will not give you a good valuation.
Okay.
Because it's a traditional business.
Right.
Because the future is not the traditional business. The future is direct to consumer, online, Amazon, mastering the art of selling on Amazon, mastering the art of doing sales in the US market through Amazon. Look at Badam or, any successful brand. They're very, very big on Amazon and that's why they got funded. Nobody will actually look at the numbers you're getting offline. Okay. So now, typically, when you go and raise funds from large investors, right? So they 20 to 30% of the company. Okay. That is the only thumb rule. Okay. Now, how much money can be raised and how much valuation completely depends on how much money you are raising. Okay. Now it is an art of telling the story that how much money you need.
Absolutely. And what valuation you can actually justify.
25% laga loge mota mota. So you can back calculate the valuation, no?
Sorry?
You can back calculate the valuation.
Right.
So any new investor coming in, right, will take 25% of the company at least. Large investor. Right? I'm not talking about seed, I'm not talking about HNIs. When we talk about a proper investor, then 20, 30, they will try to take 30% of the company.
Right.
Right.
It's basically a consumer brand. So at a sales value of say around a turnover of 3.25 crores, what is the valuation that I can look at? Is there any thumb rule as such that
Your valuation is an art of storytelling. That's what I'm telling you.
Got it.
So if I will say 10x ho jana chahiye, then there you'll find a company jiska 50x pe hua hai. Right? Why? Just because digitally savvy, they built a more premium brand. So ways of selling is more important than, so you need to have a futuristic story. So if you will ask some more senior entrepreneur, like, my mentor, Mr. Ganesh, K. Ganesh, he, told me that valuation and fundraising is an art. Right. So So there is no thumb rule. I mean, you will go to a CA, he will give you some Excel to give that number, but that can be tweaked to any level. It is it completely depends on entrepreneurial story, the story which you are going to tell.
Okay. Right. Got it.
But 25% to 30% company will go.
Is what they'll dilute.
You'll have to dilute, and then you can calculate the numbers around it.
Right. Thank you so much. Right.
Yes. Okay, I got one question. How much you got funding and how much would it cost to start a business? So how much funding I've got cannot reveal here, but how much it costs to start a business completely depends on your business idea and how big or small you want to start. So that's more of a question and answers. So please write me an email. Probably I can take it from there.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, hi.
Myself, Sudarshan from Nasik. Actually, this session was very helpful for us. I want to ask that after this session, I have got one vision or opportunities to think my business correlated to you. As you said that you are starting dog food. So my product is a solar dryers, dehydrating vegetables and fruits. What opportunities I'm looking that we can dehydrate meat,
Big
chicken.
opportunities, please drop me an email. We are not in dehydrated stuff. We are in wet. We are doing retort, ready to eat.
But if we provide dog food, seafood, chickens, and can we have any opportunity?
Yeah. Drop me an email. I'll connect you to the right people.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Okay. Yeah. My email ID is rana.atheya@dogspot.in or gmail.com. I'll write it in the chat.
Okay. Anybody else? Mr. Pratap Singh Chauhan, you're talking to a person who raised his future through online platforms. So you are also trying to do a thing on an online platform. So it is best chance for you to clear your queries. You can. Mr. Pratap Singh Chauhan. Hello. Hello. Actually, sir, Rana ji, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes. Many of our startups are from rural Maharashtra. Okay, so they are not acquainted with fluent English or any business strategies and all things. Many of them are having very good ideas. They are enthusiastic.
Hindi is good.
Yes. So
Hindi में no problem. मराठी नहीं आती मेरे को.
yes.
मेरा वैसे भी लैंग्वेज में हाथ थोड़ा तंग है. अंग्रेजी नहीं है मेरी.
Samru Agro Industries. Ms. Ashwini Jadhav. Ms. Ashwini.
Sir.
Yes, Ashwini, you have any questions? Hello, Ashwini. Ashwini, you have any questions?
No, sir.
Okay. Vinod ji. Mr. Vinod Adhikari.
So all the product companies, if there are any product companies here,
Yes.
so I would give only one advice, that direct to consumer marketing, they need to figure it out, read about it, and that is going to become very, very big. We call it D2C, direct to consumer. Any product companies should start looking at various things around it. Building it online is more important than building it offline. It is easier to build a brand online than offline. Right?
Sir, it's my personal question.
Right.
If we are having choice to get funds from bank or from venture capitalist, with whom shall we work?
Completely depends on the type of business. So if you have a requirement wherein you need a working capital, then the bank. If you have a requirement that you want to burn money and move fast forward, it will be venture capital.
Okay, sir.
Because venture capital invests and shares the risk of losing as well. Bank when invest, then they do not share the risk of losing the money.
Exactly. Yes, yes, yes. And sir, what do you think exactly the venture capitalists wants apart from the storytelling? That's different thing, but
They want your company and they want a lot of revenue in your company and high valuations.
all those are like proposed things, right?
Yeah, future.
Yes.
Okay, you want to understand that what they, so basically in an agreement they will put so many clauses that you cannot do this, you cannot do that.
Yes,
If
yes.
given a chance to do it all over again, I would not go for funding so easily.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I would try to get it funded by the customers. That is the best way of getting your company.
Yes.
And venture capitalist will will always win because they will put the best lawyers to negotiate, to put all the very, very strict clauses in your agreement. You will not get to understand half of them, and then you will just do yaya dada and sign it because
Yes,
you need money.
yes. Exactly.
Yeah.
Murthy sir, you have any questions, sir?
I'm down.
Okay. Sir, just a second. Let me go on. So thank you. As our Ashok sir tells that apart from these books and all technical knowledge, all the things, only a successful startup can be a good guru to a budding startup. So I think and I'm sure that your session is very useful to our startups.
Thank you very much.
Yes.
Sir, Rana Saab, on behalf of Sirkot R-ABI, on all startups, I hope this lecture is a very good and a very insight. And in the future, we are looking forward such type of guidance from you. And on behalf of Sirkot R-ABI and Sirkot, we are very much thankful for your lecture. And also thankful to Shashwati Mukherjee to suggest your name, because so much information about you, but she only told me that she is a good entrepreneur. So we take the advantage of his experience, expertise. So we are very much thankful for your giving time in spite of your busy schedule. And all the startups would have joined and take the benefit of this lecture. I also thank you them. And all my scientist colleague and other who are also joined in this connection, I also very much thankful to them. With these few words, we are stopping here, and we are looking forward your help in the future, and definitely one way in other way you will help us in building the ideas of our startups in coming future. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Sir, it is one request to all. Can you just all of you please start your cameras so we can take a snapshot?
Kindly show your video so that we will take a screenshot. पूरा screen. पूरा screen.
Yes. Just a second.
Hemant Liya?
Yes, sir. Okay. Rana sir. Yes. Okay. Rana sir, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Yes. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. Bye bye. Thank you.